Welcome students for online classes. So today we'll start with a new chapter under statistics, that is chapter 4, presentation of data. Till now we have completed 3 chapters under statistics, so today we'll study a new chapter, and in this chapter we'll study about textual presentation, tabular presentation and diagrammatic presentation of data. Till now, what did we study? We had studied how to collect the data from the various sources. We even studied how to classify the data which we have collected. Now we will study how to present the data in the various forms. That is, first in the textual form, second is the tabular form, last one in the diagrammatic. Maybe any kind of charts, any kind of pictures on these parts. So the topic of this session are the meaning of the presentation of data and the types of presentation of data. First one, meaning. What does presentation of data mean? Exhibition of the data in such a clear and attractive way that they are easily understood and analyzed is called presentation of data. So why is this very much important, the presentation of data? With the one glance of a site, what happens, the whatever kind of picture or whatever we want to know, all the things we will be get into our mind. So that is known as presentation of data. Based upon the presentation, what happens, we will get to know whether there is profit in the economy, whether there is loss in the economy. So how can we present? We can present it by a graph. So if the graph goes upwards, we can predict that it is there is a profit in the economy. If the graph comes downwards, we will think that there is a loss in the economy. So everything is based upon how we exhibit or how we present the data, based upon whatever numericals or whatever actual values which are present into it. So this is the meaning of presentation of data. So there are three kinds of presentation of data. First one is textual presentation, which is based upon the text. Second one is tabular presentation, which is based upon the tables, that is rows and columns. And last one, it is about the diagrammatic presentation, based upon the diagram, maybe any kind of graph, maybe any kind of pie picture, maybe any kind of columns. All these things comes under diagrammatic representation. So first one, let's study about the textual presentation of data. So what does it tell? It tells a descriptive form of presentation of data written in paragraphs is called textual presentation of data. Whatever kind of things which is written, for the main example for this is maybe the newspaper, maybe the magazine, maybe the pamphlets, maybe the any hoardings. All these things comes under the textual presentation of data, where the presentation of data is being made with the help of writing, or maybe presentation or exhibition of the data is given based upon writing in paragraph what is about the particular product, whether is for example, you might see 50% off, maybe 100%, not 100% off, sorry, maybe 70% off, all these things. If not, you might read newspapers. What do you see in that it is band today, there is no buses running on, the corona has been increasing. All these things will get to know. So these kind of things are known as textual presentation of data. So what are these? It is a combination of facts and figures which makes easy to understand. Once you get to know, once you read what is there in the newspaper, what is there in the magazine, what happens, all these things, what the celebrity is doing, how are they right now, what kind of picture are they making, with whom are they making, all these things will we might see in the social media, we might read all these things. So all these things are the textual presentation of data, which makes us easier to understand once we read all these things. When the quantity of the data is not too large in this form of presentation, it will be very easier for us to understand. So what happens, we will not read n number of papers in newspaper. So the newspaper might be of 10 pages, maybe of 8 pages. What happens, everything will be included. So if you take a Deccan Herald paper, you will get business news, you will get what is going on in the international level, what is going on in the sports, everything. So not in the large larger form, not in the 100 pages, maybe in 200 pages. All these things maybe comprises of your textbooks, maybe it might comprise of the novels which you want to read. All these things will be of the larger data. But what happens when the small number of data which is very much easier for you to understand, that is known as textual presentation of data. This is a kind of example. Maybe you might read in a newspaper, for example, in a Bandh call given on 8th September protesting, there will be big. Why is it made? Because of the hike in the price of petrol and diesels. So because of this, what happened, there were closed of schools and colleges and remaining were found in the town of Bihar. All these things news we will get to know. Maybe we can see all these things in the TV, that is in the news, maybe any kind of news, or even you can see in the newspaper, you can even see in the magazines. All these things we'll get to know. With the help of textual presentation, we can even predict a kind of presentation which is been put from the collected data which from the various sources. This is about the textual presentation of data. Second one, so the drawbacks under the textual presentation are, so sometimes textual presentation of data may lead to wrong analysis. Wrong analysis in a sense, there might be a kind of so when I come to the same example, what happens, the Bandh might be on 8th, but from the some sources, some of the newspapers, some of the people might get the Bandh will be on 9th. So that is one of the misinterpretation which they have made. So that is a wrong information which will be given to the end public. So because of this, the schools and colleges might be closed. So it will be very difficult for the people who work on the daily wages. So they cannot go to their works by just because Bandh was called on the wrong date which was given by the newspaper and TV. So misinterpretation can also be made, which will be very difficult for the consumers, which will be very difficult for the public in the society to deal with it. And the second one, in the case of presentation of data, large size, as I told, maybe if there is 100 pages of newspaper every day, it will be very difficult for you to read. It will be very boring for you to read, because each and every detail they'll be writing in that particular paper. Just because every day, each and every day you get a newspaper, it is not necessary that you need to be reading each and everything in detail. When you have 100 pages, when you have 200 pages, it will be very boring even though. So because of this, what happens, when there is large size of presentation, it will be even more difficult for the people who will be writing all these things. So the people who interprets, the people who presents the data, it will be difficult for them. And even for the people who will look upon this presentation of data, for them also it will be very difficult. So because of this, these are the two main drawbacks under the textual presentation of data. Second one, presentation of data, is about tabular presentation of data. Tabular, we can even tell it as the table presentation of data, a systematic arrangement of statistical data. Statistical data in the sense the data which we have collected earlier, maybe with the help of census, maybe with the help of sample survey, all these things. The present systematic arrangement of statistical data in columns and rows is called as tabular presentation of data, maybe based upon the rows and the columns, that is maybe upon the horizontal rows and the vertical columns. When the table is been made, when the maybe for example, what happens, recently you had PTM, how was the data given to you? Data in the sense the marks which was given to you, that was in the table form. Maybe all the subjects, economics, business, accountancy, computer science, Kannada, English, maybe your marks, what to what extent, all these things was given to you. So this is the tabular presentation, which in the simple terms which I need to know. So it helps in simplifying the presentation to facilitate comparisons. So what happens, you can when you got the marks card for you, what happened, you could have compared whether you got more in business, whether you got more in accountancy, whether you got less in economics, whether you got more in any other subjects, whether you got less in any other subject. So with the help of tabular presentation, with the one glance, you can get to know what is more in marks, what is less in marks, everything can be predicted. Next one, the types of tabular presentation of data, that is a table presentation of data. These all the classification which we had studied in the earlier chapter, also the same classification which has been given under the tabular presentation. First is qualitative classification, quantitative classification, chronological or temporal classification. Last one is geographical or spatial classification. First one, Qualitative classification, which is based upon the quality or the characteristics or behavior of a particular individual. Say I have taken an example of the gender, maybe male and female, to what number of extent the students have been present in the class, to what extent male are they, to what extent female are they. That is a qualitative classification. Second one is about quantitative classification. This classification of data is based upon the height, weight, based upon the quantity, based upon the numerical terms. So based upon the height, maybe 164 centimeters height, how many students are present in the class, how many students are there in the class, and the height of 167 centimeter, 7 members of students are there in the class. Based upon the height, weight, or any kind of numerical, qualitative, all these things, number of students which are, I can even take the marks, maybe 40 marks who have gained maybe 3 of the students from your class. All these things comes under the quantitative classification based upon the numerical data. Next one is about chronological or the temporal classification. As the name itself tells, chronological, it should be in a kind of order. Okay, it can be either in the ascending order, it can be or in the descending order. So what does it explains? It explains based upon the time the classification should be made. So what happens here, I have given you the example of the register number. Everybody will be having their own register number based upon your names. So A comes first, B comes next, in the same way Z comes in the last. So register number will be assigned based upon your names. In the same way, register number 1 will be assigned to the Mr. A, is register number 2 will be assigned to Miss B. In the same way, based upon the time, based upon the name, based upon the classification, or based upon the order, or based upon the ascending or descending situation, we can assume or we can predict the presentation of data. Next one and the last type of tabular presentation is the geographical or spatial classification. It is based upon the locality, country, or village. For here, I have taken the example of the stream. We have 2 stream, maybe commerce, maybe science, maybe arts. So when I compare our college, we have only 2 stream, that is commerce and science. So what happens? First commerce, the student name can be Akbar. So second science, I want to search a name for the Amr. So how can I search? I will be searching the name of Amr. So where does he stays? He stays in the second science class. So based upon the names, we can predict to what geographical situation he is been there, to what class he belongs to what locality he belongs to. That things we can predict under the geographical or spatial classification. So these are the types of the tabular presentation. So assignment part, what do you mean by presentation of data? Mention the types of presentation of data. Write a short note on textual presentation of data. What is tabular presentation of data? Explain its types. So by this we completed this session. Thank you, students.